What's up, besties? It's your girl Morgan here, and you're listening to Your Internet Best Friend. Y'all, the time has come. We are at the season finale of season 1, Your Internet Best Friend podcast. I'm like shocked that I'm sitting here. I remember in March, I think, that was when I had this crazy idea to do a podcast. I was like, should I not? Do I trust the universe? Do I do this? I decided to take a leap of faith and do this, and it has been the most wild ride. I have loved every single second of opening up on the internet, doing what I do best, and oversharing with all my internet besties, and this is going to be a wild one. The last solo podcast, but I promise y'all, this is not the last time you'll see my face. It's not the last time you will hear my voice. We will have season 2 coming. I'm going to take a month-long break. And you know what I'm going to do during that month? I'm going abroad. Things have taken a little turn in my life. We're going to get into that. But I'm spending the whole entire month of September in Europe. I actually have the world's craziest travel schedule. So I leave September 1st. I am on a cruise of sorts, which we will get into until the 10th. I come back for 3 days, just 3 days, because I thought that was plenty of time in my head to unpack, get my life together, and then I go to Croatia. I'm going to I don't actually know. I booked a one-way flight to Croatia. I've got my Miles with Morgan retreat with a bunch of amazing girls, and then I said, let's see where the wind takes me. I don't know. I might meet up with some friends in Europe. I might gallivant in Paris. Who freaking knows? But I'm so excited about that. And then coming in October, we'll start season 2. And I'm sure I will have plenty of stories during this month to report back on. I'm so excited. And also, I just want to say, if you've listened, liked, subscribed, if you've shot me a DM saying how much you love this podcast, I want to say, I love you. I would not be here without you guys. I hope you continue to listen and support and all that fun stuff. And look, whether you like it or not, I'm going to continue to show up and talk about my life on the internet because that's what I do best here. So let's do a little life update before we go into where I want to take this solo podcast, which I want to talk a lot about rejection, which you're like, Morgan, it's the last podcast. Don't you want to talk about something upbeat and uplifting and maybe make us laugh? And I'm like, no, I don't, because I honestly just want to talk about where I'm at in my life right now, how I'm feeling. And that's how I feel right now. I feel rejected for lack of better terms. But I'm going to get into that. Let's just do like let's figure what the hell's going on in Morgan's life. I feel like I haven't talked. I guess our last solo podcast, I talked about my 6 months in Nashville, but I hadn't really given you a life update. So, God, it's hard for me. It's hard. This is a moment where I'm gonna be a bit vulnerable on the internet. It's not something I'm necessarily comfortable with. It's not something I want to do. I'm not thrilled with like how things have turned out. But guess what? That's freaking life. Life throws you curveballs and you've got to deal with it. And hopefully by me talking about this, it will help someone else out there. Okay, so if you remember in the last solo episode, I was talking about 6 months in Nashville. I was like, oh my God, I haven't talked about dating in a while. Because if you remember, I started off this solo podcast coming in hot. 29, I was single in Nashville. We talked about cat t-shirt man and the bad date. And then I kind of ghosted because I obviously had kind of started seeing someone. I developed feelings, which I don't like to do because then with feelings comes the possibility of being hurt. And last podcast I mentioned I liked where things were going, but I was really scared. And I kind of opened up about that. But if you remember in that one, I was pretty excited about where things were going. Things have taken a turn. So that did not end the way that I wanted it to. Speaking of the cruise that I'm going on September 1st to Barcelona, I was approached by this awesome epic cruise company. They're like, hey, you're an influencer. I was like, I am an influencer. And they're like, do you want to go on this all expense paid cruise to Europe? And I said, yeah. But at the time I was super overwhelmed because mid-September I was going to go to Croatia. So in my head, I was like, well, I'm seeing this person. I don't even want to give him an alias because I don't think it matters. Anyways, this is more about me talking about my feelings, less about the other person. But I was like, maybe I'll just see if he wants to go. He'll probably say no. But then it's like, Morgan, this is an all expense paid trip for you and a +1. Flights, cruise, food, epic itinerary, Barcelona, south of France, Mallorca, Ibiza, epic. So yeah, of course someone's going to say yes. So he ended up wanting to go. I was so pumped. And I think that's probably why in the last solo episode you could hear the excitement in my voice, because I mean, that's what every girl dreams of. Like you're interested in this person and you're going on this epic cruise, and I was so excited for the future. And you know what my biggest issue is, and something I have to work on, and look, I'll take responsibility for this. I tend to romanticize things in my head, which is a good and a bad thing. I talk a lot about how, yes, romanticize your life and put on the song and dance in your car and live in a rom-com and pour your coffee and, I don't know, pretend Matthew McConaughey is about to walk out and swoop you up and you're having this epic love story. Yes, cool. I do often do that in my life. Makes it very enjoyable. But I also will take situations that I get excited about and I will tend to romanticize them in my head a bit. And I think I probably did that a bit in this situation. Anyways, you're like, bitch, get to the point. Like, where does this go south? This sounds like this is this epic love story, fairy tale. And yeah, I mean, it could have been, but it's not. It is what it is. I've accepted the facts. I got a call 10 days before the cruise, and this person basically was like, hey, I'm not going anymore. And I said, literally, and I'm sorry, Mom, she hates when I drop the F-bomb on the podcast. She actually just called me before and was like, stop cursing on the internet. I'm like, Mom, I can't. Sometimes an F-bomb's necessary. So I got this call and he was like, look, I'm not going anymore. And I said, are you fucking kidding me? Like, literally that's what came out of my mouth because I was so shocked and surprised by that. But long story short, look, as much as I want to be super mad and just absolutely rip into someone and be pissed off and spill the tea and all the juicy details, what's that gonna do me, y'all? I think if anything that I've learned is, yeah, it'll feel good for 5 seconds. It would feel really good right now to just be like, this isn't fair. I don't deserve this, blah, 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 XYZ. But guess what? Then I'm going to stop recording and then I'm going to have to think back on this and be like, yeah, that felt good in the moment. But guess what? It doesn't feel good now. I'm still kind of hurting. It's still a bummer. I'm still dealing with the what if that didn't come about. So I'm not going to do that. That's not my character. I think we've realized that by now. Sorry if you were expecting a bunch of tea, but I mean, I will, I don't know, talk about my feelings, which is what I do best, and kind of what happened after that situation. So whatever, the phone call happens and my jaw drops and I'm like, but the cruise is in 10 days. So I obviously get upset. I'm not gonna lie, I'm embarrassed at how much I ugly cried over this situation because now, I don't know, it's been a week and I've accepted it. It sucks. It is what it is, but you know, I've moved forward. I'm not kidding. I called my mom ugly crying, like Kim K tears, lost her diamond in the ocean, that kind of crying. And anytime I do this, my mom should know better. She should probably realize it's not that big of a deal, but she's like, oh my God, like, did you get in a car crash? Like, what happened? Like, she goes 0 to 100 to the worst possible scenario. And I'm like, no, it's fine. But like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm going on this cruise alone now. And she was just like, oh my God, like, what are we getting ourselves into? But so if you're wondering why this happened, I really don't know. I mean, I actually do know. So the person, as much as I want to be like, this asshole, how dare you? I mean, they basically said they are not ready for a relationship. They don't want that. I have made it very clear, which I am very proud. I am proud. I have come so far from 24-year-old Morgan, who stayed in a relationship for way too long, accepting way, way less than what I deserved and settling and just wanting to people please and go with the flow and pray that someone wanted the same thing as me. Now at 29, I'm very good at communicating what I want. I know what I want. I know that I'm not going to settle, and I'm proud of that. And you know what? I got the call, and they were like, yeah, I don't really want what you want. I don't want to be in a relationship anytime soon. It got a little confusing because it was kind of like whiplash because I had gotten glimpses of what it would be like to be in a relationship. I was following the lead of someone else because, as y'all know, I was walking carefully. I felt like I got hurt. But that's life. That is what it is. I can appreciate I'm trying to be the bigger person here. So bear with me. I can appreciate the honesty. I can appreciate the phone call. At least it wasn't like a text. I feel like most people would do that. The only thing is I wish I had not gotten glimpses of what this potential like relationship could have been. I wish I had pulled back a little bit. And if you listen to the episode with Case Kenny, who came on my podcast, relationship coach and expert, the questions I was asking him were not listener questions, full transparency. They were questions about my own life that I really wanted him to answer. And I think the second he said, and I asked, you know what, if someone says that they're not ready to be in a relationship, what do you do? And he said, you walk away. And because if someone is not ready to be in a relationship with you, there's going to be someone else who is. So you can't wait around for that. And you know what? Looking back, I wish I would have listened to that. I think it would have saved me a few ugly cries here and there, but I don't know. Moral of the story, guys, I'm rambling and I'm sweating because I'm getting flustered because talking about my feelings sucks. And I don't know. I feel like part of me should be pissed off. Like, yeah, oh my God, 10 days before a cruise, you couldn't figure this out 2 months ago. Also, I was supposed to fly out a day early. So go to Barcelona, explore Barcelona, all that fun stuff, get on the cruise, have this epic itinerary, fly home. Oh my God, I'm honestly embarrassed at how excited I was. And then now I'm flying to Barcelona by myself. So the person is no longer going with me. I had a small panic attack because I was like, oh my God, I'm flying to Barcelona. I now have a day. And at first I thought that I was going to have to go on this cruise by myself because, you know, I'm working with this brand. I couldn't bail. I had committed to it. And oh my God, 10 days before, who's going to be able to go on this random cruise with me? All my friends have jobs here. Like I called my mom, she couldn't go. And this is how I know this is all supposed to happen. I'm a weirdo about timing. I'm a weirdo about trust in God's signs and all that. And look, I'll look for any excuse to like go down a deep rabbit hole and be like, what is the lesson I can learn from this? My sister randomly had those days off and she's a flight attendant. The chance of her having a chunk of time, a week, where she just is not working is so rare. And so I called her all upset. Obviously, I felt dumb. I felt fooled. I felt a little sad and rejected and all the things. So I call her and I'm like, I don't know what to do, dude. Like, do I go on this cruise? It's such an awesome opportunity. I don't know what to do. I feel like I can't go by myself, even though, look, I am the first person to thrive and say solo travel and all the fun stuff. But I was just like, this freaking sucks. And she had magically those days off. So lo and behold, Alex is going to go on this cruise with me. And I do feel like it's a God thing where he knew something that I didn't about this situation. And I now get to go on a pretty freaking cool experience with my sister, who I will cherish those memories with. And look, this is where I want to go into rejection, because I think that's like the theme of this podcast. It freaking sucks. Rejection, and I always say rejection is protection. And look, I can say that till the cows come home. Is that? I don't even know if that's cliche. Oh my God, my Texas is showing. I can say that all day long and preach it, but that doesn't make it any easier to accept. So let me just clarify, because I'm going to say all this and like, please do not send me any DMs asking for more details on this situation, because it already is just like a sucky situation. But the phone call happens, all that, we realize, you know, that person doesn't want a relationship right now, isn't really emotionally available. And also, if we're talking about rejection as protection, I think I was being protected from, I think that person probably needs to do work on themselves, which we all do. But I also have done so much work on myself where it's like, I don't need to also do that. So the phone call happens and I was like, well, me being like kind of naive, I'm like, so does this mean like, okay, yeah, we're not going on the cruise together, but I'm assuming like we're not gonna talk anymore? And basically, yes, no, we're not speaking anymore. It is what it is. I think timing's everything. This was not my time. But again, I tried to remind myself in that moment, Morgan, rejection is protection. And something that I told myself that really, really helped me. So if you're out there, and look, if I can open up on a podcast to the internet and talk about liking someone, getting a bit emotionally invested, which maybe that was premature or naive for me. But if I can do all of that and then have it go away and have the feeling of rejection and talk about it, I hope you can take all of this. If you're also dealing with a breakup or something that didn't go your way, or you didn't get the job or whatever, you just feel rejected in general, I hope you can look at me and be like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And please, please, please remember right here, rejection is protection. What I told myself is I would rather cope with temporary sadness than deal with a long-term heartache. So yes, rejection sucks, but it's part of life. And you don't know what it's protecting you from. So yeah, I'm dealing with the feelings of, man, like this sucks now. It's not fun. I got to go through it, but I have no idea what I am being protected from. And I may never ever find that out. And I have to just accept that. But who knows? Maybe this was protecting me from years of heartache down the road. Maybe this was protecting me from, I'm going real deep with this one, there is a marriage in the future that was going to end and I was going to have to deal with that heartbreak. Maybe it was, I'm protecting you from this situation because your real person is out there waiting for you. And if you were in this for too long, you would miss out on that. So again, guys, I'm going to repeat that because it has really, really helped me. I actually screenshot it and put it as my phone background, but I would rather cope with temporary sadness now than deal with a long-term heartache later down the road. So I don't know if that helps you, but it really, really helped me. And I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic about this whole situation, but I will say, look, rejection is part of life. And you know what is crazy? Anytime something in my life happens, whether it's a rough time, a breakup, something that didn't go my way, I will look for every sign. I'll look for timing. So last week when all of this happened, I got the phone call. I was so upset. I went back to the workout class that I met this person at because I wanted to go. I needed the endorphins. My girlfriend asked if I wanted to go with her and I was like, sure, I'll go. Luckily he wasn't there. Cool. Everything was fine. But I got home and I was scrolling through my phone because I wanted to post a picture of us at the workout. And I went back and for some reason in my iPhone memories, it popped up May 23rd was the first 6 a.m. class that I ever went to in this gym. And that was when I ran into said human, cruise canceller. And that's whatever. When I saw him, send a DM, cool. I say cool a lot. Take a shot. Take 3 shots every time I say that. But then I fast forward and I realized August 23rd was the day that I went back to the same workout class with the same girl that I initially went to with on May 23rd. And the saying is that you know what is right for you after 90 days. I don't know where I saw that, maybe Google, maybe my therapist told me, but that's kind of the general 90-day rule is after 90 days, you can evaluate if something is serving you, if it's not serving you, whether you can move on or not. And I just thought it was so ironic that all of this happened and I was just questioning why. I'm like, why did I let someone in? Why do I wear my heart on my sleeve? Why am I being vulnerable right now? I don't know. All this stuff that I was scared of, dealing with, letting someone in again and then it not working out. But how crazy, May 23rd to August 23rd, that has to be some kind of crazy timing. Anyways, 90 days. And I kind of accepted that. And I was like, all right, cool. This 90-day mark, I realized this, wasn't for me. It is what it is. And now I get this epic September in Europe. And I firmly believe my word of the year, trust. Oof. Jesus is really testing me with that word. It's funny. When I picked that word in January, I had no idea I was really going to be leaning on it that as much as I am this year. But I mean, if anything, I really feel like this situation is really making me have to trust God, trust the timing, trust the universe, and really, really trust that everything is truly working out in my favor. And look, as much as I'd be lying if I said I don't want a relationship. And here's the thing, y'all, friends, internet besties, and maybe another girl out there is like me. I sometimes feel like a fraud because I'm one to preach solo travel, female empowerment. You don't need anyone. You can thrive being alone, which I wholeheartedly do believe that, but that does not mean there's another part of me that does not want a partner, a relationship, the fairy tale romance, all of the things. Like, I want to feel that again. I miss having that. So it's like kind of this catch-22 of I want both things. And it's a constant battle of, I don't know, like, what do I preach? And I think what I've realized is, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just simply going to say how I feel at the time that I feel it. Sometimes I'll feel like thriving alone. And sometimes I'll be crying because I got really hopeful that a situation was going to work out for me and it didn't. And I want to have a relationship. I want a partner. And you know what? If someone has an issue with that, so be it. You can unsubscribe from the podcast, but I really am trusting the timing on this one because, look, I could have gone on the cruise with someone and it might not have worked out later down the road, and I might have missed out on traveling the rest of September. And who knows who I will meet on this crazy, crazy 4 weeks I'm planning abroad. But I mean, everything works out for a reason. You bet your ass I'm re-downloading Hinge as I'm going. I actually saw a meme right before this, and it said, if your man is not treating you right, some man in Europe will. And I was like, it's really ironic that I'm seeing that right now. But I am going to re-download Hinge. I'm going to see where life takes me, and I'm going to trust the freaking process. So I want to go into like the lessons I've learned from this, because I was actually talking to my therapist, and I am someone, I don't know if you've noticed this, guys, I will try and find a lesson learned from anything. It's taken me 29 years to really get to the place where I'm a pretty positive person. I try and find the good out of everything. I really do think every little thing happens for a reason. So I try and find the lesson learned. And I was talking to my therapist yesterday. What up, Carly? She's not listening to this. I actually asked her yesterday. I was like, Carly, do you like listen to my podcast? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm not offended. I wouldn't want my therapist to listen anyway. She'd probably be disappointed. She'd be like, we worked on this all week and you're saying the opposite on your podcast. But anyways, I was talking to her and I was just like stumped. And I was like, Carly, I was obviously debriefing her on the situation and me going on this cruise and me being sad about it. And I was like, I cannot figure out what the lesson is. Like, I can't figure out why this happened. I'm having such a hard time looking within and being positive about it. Like, trying to be happy-go-lucky Morgan and being like, things are gung-ho and everything's going to work out for you. And it's not happening to you. It's happening for you. And if it's meant to be, it's not going to miss you and something better is going to come along. And I just was like, I got nothing for you, Carly. I am struggling. And she literally looked at me and she was like, Morgan, maybe there like doesn't need to be a lesson learned in this one. Maybe you're just allowed to feel the feelings. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to be bummed that something didn't work out. And you're going to have to go through all of those feelings and then you're going to get over it. And I was like, oh my God, you are actually so right. So I don't know. Hopefully that resonates with someone, but you better believe I was doing actually colon hydrotherapy right before this. It's funny how that always happens right before a solo episode. I don't know why. I just feel the need to clean my colon. Your girl found some lessons learned, because yes, Carly, I'm feeling the feels, but I also really do think there are lessons to be learned from everything. And if there's a will, there's a way. I'm going to find them. I think my number one lesson I kind of learned from this one is you cannot romanticize. You cannot in your head make something that simply isn't. And I kind of learned that in this situation where I jumped 0 to 100 really quick. And I did have to pull back. And was I given a lot of mixed signals? Yes. Was I given a bit of whiplash? Yes. So I'm not saying like I'm a total idiot. I actually think I handled the situation pretty well. But in my head, I was like, well, what if this works out? And what if we go on this epic adventure and then things go great? And then I get what I wanted and I get my fairy tale happy ending. And I think that's what made it harder for me. I think that's what it made it harder for me to accept. And it's like, no. You literally can't do that. You've got to look what is directly in front of you. Take that information and simply only act upon that. You cannot be like, well, maybe in 6 months it's going to look like this and I'm so excited. No. Do that. And also you have to remember, if someone tells you something, a friend, if they look you in the eye and tell you something, you've got to take that at face value. Even if they backtrack, even if they say, oh, no, I want to be exclusive and I don't want to see other people. And you say, same. Whatever they said initially, like, you need to listen to, because that's going to save you in the end. And lastly, I mean, I already did say this, but, and I do believe this, and I mean, I really wanted to ignore this little cliche, but I can't. If something is meant for you, it's not going to miss you. It simply is not. So in this situation, it wasn't meant for me because it literally went away in the span of like an hour. And if it is supposed to work out in the future, it will come back to me. You have to believe that. And once you accept that, okay, if it's meant for me, it will come to me. You've got to accept that. And then you've just got to live in the present moment. You can't be like, well, what if 6 months from now? Or, well, what if I did something different 6 days ago? Would that have changed anything? No. If it's meant for you, it's not going to miss you. And you have to believe that if it does miss you, something even better is going to come along. It really will. And look, as much as I cried, like I firmly do believe that. Oh man, it doesn't make it any freaking easier. It really doesn't. But yeah, so that was my little life update. I'm going to Europe. Who freaking knows what is going to happen. I went to a wedding this past weekend, and I have to tell this little Alex tidbit story because it's just her and I's relationship summed up. The amount of shit we're about to get ourselves into on this cruise is it comical. So we're at this wedding. It was for my best friend Courtney. She got married in Tahoe. I love. It wasn't the best timing because I was sad because I am now a single girl at a wedding at a table of all couples, except luckily I have my ride or die Alex, who is also hopelessly single because, I mean, we know her dating stories. But my friend Courtney, who is also my manager, loves herself a cocktail, also had like an open bar. So you know what me and Alex did? We took full advantage of this open bar. like drink a lot. So we've been drinking all day, and then her and I were like stumbling back to the table. Everyone is pretty litty at this wedding. Courtney threw a great party, but the speeches come out. So it's like the best man and her dad gives a speech, and I'm sitting there paying attention. Obviously, like, I love a good speech moment. I love a deep, sentimental, emotional moment. If you have not been able to tell from the rant I've been on for the past 35 minutes, all of a sudden I feel like a tsunami just like flood my lap. And I look down, my beautiful dress, that expensive show me your moo light green silk dress I bought, is now covered in Alex's cocktail. Not a small spill. She had just gotten a brand new beverage and somehow just like flung it into my lap. But I can't yell at her because the speeches are going on. So I'm like trying my hardest I'm like, if you guys can imagine, my face is turning red. My blood is boiling because I'm now soaking wet. And Alex, being the sister that she is just cracking up because the look on my face is like, I can't yell at her, can't interrupt the speeches. So you know what I do? I take my cocktail. I'm not proud of this moment at all. I take my cocktail, and as I'm looking at the speeches, I'm looking this way, and I just like slowly, for dramatics, dump it in her lap. So now both of us, and we also look the same now with our long hair, and we're wearing similar dresses, like both similar cuts, cut out backs, like this silky material. Mine's brand new, hers is brand new. And I was like, yeah, homegirl, you're going to ruin my dress with your cocktail? Well, guess what? I'm going to do fair's fair. And only sisters can do this, but just imagine me like a slow trickle, just dumping it in her lap. And now we're both, which I'm now looking, I'm like, I don't know what that did, but it made me feel better. At least I look like I pee myself. So do you, homegirl. And we were both mad at each other. We didn't talk for like at least 10 minutes. And then we took a tequila shot and all was well. But yeah, there was that. And then I will say, I posted this on my Instagram because my dad is just, oh my God, this is going to make me sad. Because every time I'm at a wedding, I start tearing up anytime there's the father-daughter dance because it's my favorite part of a wedding. Look, I love the vows. I love wedding cake. I love an open bar. I love a dance floor situation. I just like really love weddings. But my favorite part is the father-daughter dance because it just makes me so emotional. My dad, Kurt Willett, who has not listened to a single podcast episode because he just doesn't want to know about my dating life and he also thinks I overshare on the internet and doesn't want to know the details of my life. It's fine, Dad. But he is the best guy. I could go on and on about Kurt Willett. I think the reason I've only been in a few relationships is because my dad has set the bar so high. As a little girl, like, he's just been such a stand-up dude. He's taught me everything I know, my work ethic, the way he treated my mom, the way, I don't know, he fills up my car. He washes me and my sister's car every time we come home. He sends us, inspirational Bible verses in the morning. He'll text us out of the blue and just say how proud he is of us. Like, I am so lucky to have my dad. And every time I watch the father-daughter dance, I just like lose it. So I'm watching this, I'm emotional, and I had actually posted this on my Instagram story, and my dad responds because I was like, this was after I had stayed up till 3 drinking, and me and Alex had to get up at 6 in the morning to drive to the Reno airport, and I'm eating a McGriddle at McDonald's because I'm a disgusting human. I hate McDonald's, but I will eat McDonald's when I'm severely hungover at the Reno airport. And I just am shedding tears because I'm thinking about my dad not having the opportunity to walk me down the aisle. Like, that is, I have a lot of big fears: spiders, sharks, not getting a father-daughter dance. Like, that's a huge fear of mine. And maybe that's something I need to release. And if it's going to work out, it's going to work out. And because I do feel like maybe that's why I put pressure on being like, I need to find a relationship and I want my fairy tale ending and I want that. I've got so much love to give. I also I want that moment with my dad so bad. Like, he deserves it. Not so much for me. I deserve it too, but he deserves it. So he messaged me, and of course my dad, I'm crying into my McGriddle, and he was like, you will get that, and it's going to be the best moment of my whole entire life. So then I start crying more because I'm just like, oh my God, protect Kurt at all costs. So I made a joke back to him, and I was like, well, you better stay in shape so you can make it down the aisle with me, if and when that ever does happen. Not if, when it does happen. We're putting that into the universe. Here's what he responded back, because I just want everyone to know everyone needs a good dad pep talk every now and then. But he said, I'm in great shape and you don't worry about me. There's someone out there for you, and it may be 3 years or 5 years or 3 months. Don't put any kind of time limit on finding someone. Just be a good person, help other people, and stay true to your faith. Oh my God, legit, I lost it. So now I screenshot it, and every time I need a little pick me up, I think about that little snippet that my father said, because it's so true. It really is. It's just can't put a timeline on it. Be a good ass person, help other people. I don't know, talk to Jesus if that's your thing, and let everything else play out. So speaking on letting everything play out, and you're like, Morgan, you're going to Barcelona by yourself and flying there, and what are you going to do for 48 hours? Are you nervous? And it's nah, because I don't know if you've realized this, guys. I've done this before. It's weird. The universe really does have a funny way of putting me in situations that make me cry, make me uncomfortable, push the limits of myself, where it's I don't want to go gallivant across Barcelona by myself, because I was really excited to do it with someone else that I was interested in. But there's a lesson to be learned, and I don't know why I've got to do it, but I do, because I don't know if you remember this. I've probably talked about this on podcast before. I think I talked about it on Gabrielle Stone's podcast, or I've briefly brought it up on my own podcast, but I went on a solo trip to Portugal. I actually it was the 1-year anniversary this past August, and I was not supposed to do that alone. I was not supposed to go with someone that I was interested in, but I was supposed to go with one of my guy friends. And right before, this was 3 days before. So at least with this situation, your girl got 10 days to cope with it and figure out what the hell I'm doing. With that one, I had 2 days. This is my guy friend is actually my ex-boyfriend from high school. Weird story. Great guy. We're good friends. He was supposed to go with me. He hit a pothole, because men don't ride your bike at night, okay? Just don't. Hit a pothole, snapped his collarbone, couldn't go, called me and was like, all right, you got 1 or 2 things. You can cancel the trip or you can go by yourself. And I was like, guess I'm going. And at the time I was terrified. I remember crying, calling my mom, calling Gabrielle Stone, not sure, do I go, do I not? And it ended up being the most epic adventure of my life that legitimately did teach me so much, and I met so many amazing people. And look, you're probably so sick of the woo-woo shit, because that's kind of my shtick at this point. Not shtick, but that's what I enjoy talking about. But let's go into the juicy details of the people I met in Portugal, because So I went by myself. I ended up extending my trip because I had so much fun. And that was the trip where I really did heal all the parts of me that were still kind of broken from my last relationship. And I had no idea I needed to go until I was on that trip. So whatever reason that I'm going to Barcelona and on this cruise, and then I'm going to Croatia and like spending the whole entire month of September in Europe. I don't know why I'm doing it yet, and I don't know why all of this is happening, but I know for a fact come October for season 2, I will have figured it out and I will report back on that. Because in Portugal, I needed to go and I had to meet all of these guys to realize that there's hope. There's hope for me that each one that I met kind of healed a little different part of me for different reasons. So the first one, I go to Lagos, which was my first stop in my Portugal solo trip. And it was like the first town I went to. I went to the beach by myself. And I just remember I was so awkward. I was so uncomfortable. I was just like sitting on my beach towel by myself, like all these people around me. And I was like, holy shit, I'm in Portugal alone. I don't know anyone. I don't know what to do. I want to go home right now. But instead, forced myself. I was like, all right, at least go get a cocktail. Because when in doubt, a cocktail is going to make you feel better, especially an Aperol Spritz in Portugal. So I go to the beach bar and I immediately see this cute bartender whose name is Fleuren. And he immediately, of course, is just like flirting with me and like, I don't know what he's giving me his mom's fruit salad, which is homemade. And I think that's a lie to this day, but I was like, oh my God, your mom's fruit salad just for me. The last one. Cool. And him and he was like, well, do you want to go I'll take you paddle boarding. I was like, yeah, I'll go out into some random caves with a man I just met 5 minutes ago who's super cute. So this man takes me paddle boarding. And long story short, he takes me on this really cool tour through the caves. I'm sitting on the paddle board like the passenger princess that I am. And he's like paddling me. And all the time he's like, I've never seen someone so beautiful. Y'all, European men know what they're doing. But he's like, your eyes are like 2 crystal clear pools of water. I don't even know what the hell he was saying. But I was like, damn, yeah, they are, Fleuren. Anyways, we ended up like having like this passionate kiss in the caves. And I was just like so smitten. And then ended up going on a little date with him. And then looking back, I'm like, might not have been my brightest moment, because after we went on this date, he was like, I want to take you to this like special magical lookout. And we're going to walk down these stairs and I have a coin and you're going to throw it into the water and you're going to make a wish and all your like dreams are going to come true. At the time, I'm like, Lizzie McGuire, yes. And now I'm like, Fleuren could have murdered me. Absolutely could have drowned me in the water and no one would ever see me again. But guys, look, my location services were on. Someone was tracking me from back home. So they would have known, wouldn't have stopped him from murdering me, but they at least would have found my body. So like I make a wish, and I honestly think I wished in that moment, I can say it now because it came true. I was like, I just want to heal. Like I want to feel whole again. I want to feel like myself. And lo and behold, on that trip, it all freaking happened. So I met him. That was like destination number 1. I still follow him on Instagram. Great guy. He also works at a beach shack in Lagos, which is like a little town in Portugal. Like I will never see this man again. But he kind of showed me, I'm like, I do deserve to be complimented. Like I've never, like that was something that was missing in my life for so much, is someone just being like, oh my God, your eyes are like 2 crystal clear pools of water. And I was just like, oh my God, yes, I do deserve to be complimented. So then we meet Portugal Chris, which I've talked about before for sure. I randomly met him in Lisbon. We agreed to go to dinner together. It was like a friend of a friend of a friend was like, meet this guy. And now he is forever in my head, Portugal Chris. He came to my going away party in LA. I introduced him drunkenly to all my friends, like, this is Portugal Chris. And they're like, why? This guy's from New York. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but he's got a home in Portugal as well. His name's Portugal Chris. We've become really good friends. I'm actually, if all goes accordingly, I asked him, I was like, hey, after Croatia, like, do you want to pick a random place in Europe and like we'll just meet up and have a little adventure together? And he was like, yeah, dude, like sick. So met him in Portugal, a travel buddy. Before you ask, I'm not romantically interested in any of these men anymore. But I met him and he was the first person where it's just like, I wasn't so much focused on being like attracted to like my ideal guy, like tall, dark, handsome, all this stuff. I was just like, I was so attracted to his personality and like him. He is also a cute guy, but just making me laugh. And like, so I needed to learn that. And then like he's stayed in my life and that's epic and cool. And then my last stop, there was Marco. And everyone remembers Marco from my Instagram. So Marco, I'm not going to lie, I did meet on Hinge because like I love downloading Hinge when I go to European countries. If you haven't done it, highly recommend. You're not going to get murdered. Go meet up in a public place. You'll be fine. But the men on Hinge, they want to take out an American girl. Yes, they do. And so Marco was like, oh my God, let me take you dancing. And I was like, all right, sure. Ended up staying out. Like, y'all, I'm a 10 p.m. bed girly. 10 p.m., I want to be in bed, lights out, mask, ambient noise, cold room, whatever. I stayed out till like 5 a.m. with Marco. That is so unlike me. But we ended up going dancing and he took me on this like scooter throughout Portugal. Like I was like on this scooter, like looking at epic architecture and churches. And he was driving the scooter. I was again being passenger princess. Like that's the common theme. I'm like, I don't want to do anything. Take me on your motorcycle. Take me on your paddleboard. Take me on your scooter. Let me look at things. And then we ended up like, I don't know, like staying up all night long. I just remember I was like doing cartwheels in front of churches and on scooters. And then he took me surfing. And then he was the one, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, but in my past relationship, I was always given cards and they were never signed, which is just like awful. But look, you live and you learn. You're young. I was just like, oh, okay. A birthday card that's empty. Cool. You can't even write XOXO, love you, or like a little smiley face. No, it was a blank card. And for some reason, I thought that's what I deserved. Plot twist. No one deserves that. But Marco, when I got to the airport, I don't know why I brought up that in conversation with him. I don't know. He was asking me about my past, or I made a joke at the airport after he took me surfing and like all this stuff. He showed up, insisted on taking me to the airport. He had flowers and he had a card that he like made with like a picture of us on it. And he said like, here's to a lifetime of not one more unsigned card. And I never, ever, ever forgot that. So anytime I'm like, am I settling? Am I putting myself in a situation where I'm not getting what I truly, truly deserve because whatever, like because I'm rushing things or I feel like I'm alone or whatever. I do try and remember, here's to a lifetime of not one more unsigned card. So that was like a bit of my Portugal solo trip. It was freaking epic. Oh, I also will say those were like the 3 that stood out in my mind that I still keep in contact with, but let's not forget about the hot bartender. If you ever go to Lisbon, go to a bar called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There's he's not a bartender. He actually owns the whole entire bar. His name is Leo. So freaking hot. We ended up like making out in his bar. He was giving me cocktails. He actually, and I'm very proud of this, he was like, oh my God, come back to my apartment. And I said, no, I could go, but if I end up murdered, people be sad for like a hot second, then they'd be like, this girl's an idiot. So I ended up not doing that, but he was so sexy and just like, had a fun, wild time. And then walking the street to Lisbon, there was the hot plastic surgeon who invited me to his home in the south of France. I follow him on Instagram. All he does is post boobs all day. I don't know if like, I get boobs are great. I will never forget. I'm like walking down the street and he stops me and he was like, oh my God, you are so beautiful. Like, tell me everything. Like, let's get drinks, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh, like, this is what it's like being in Europe. Because you know what? People in Nashville don't stop me on the streets, okay? Because for every 10 beautiful girls in Nashville, there's one guy, which is probably part of the problem. But in Europe, American girls, thrive. So, like, I can't forget that. All of these things, I'm saying all of this because if you're listening, you're like, am I single? Do I need to go on a solo trip to Portugal? My answer is yes. But the main lesson learned, we love lessons here. Look, you're never going to understand why things are happening in the moment, but you're going to understand a month from now, a week from now, a year from now, 10 years from now. Like it all will make sense in the end. And I'm honestly saying this because I'm kind of just giving myself a pep talk right now. Because I really need it. Because look, guys, you guys can listen to this and be like, oh my God, Morgan, you seem like you're fine and you've accepted it. No, it still sucks. It's still, everything about it is just a shitty situation, okay? I don't like it. I don't love it, but I know and I'm confident it will all make sense in the end. Y'all, I think that's it on this solo episode, the last one of season 1. I hope you were able to follow my emotional tangents. Thank you guys so much for listening. Oh, also, I got long hair. And I would like to say, when speaking of timing, all of this happened, whatever. I got the phone call last week, canceled cruise. I was like, oh man, that sucks. I'm sad. The very next day, we got our long hair put back in. We're long, we're luscious again. I will say though, now that I have 10 pounds of fake hair glued to my head, if y'all thought I was sweating in my apartment previously, oh my God, it's like I've got a small animal on my head right now. So it just means that I'm sweating profusely. So I'm so excited to honestly disappear off the face of the earth and leave Nashville, which is still 100 degrees and so hot, for the whole entire month of September. And hopefully by the time I come home, I will sweat less with these extensions on my head. But again, guys, sorry for that little side note. Thank you so much for listening to this first season. I've loved every single second. We've had my sister on. We had Demps. We had Joey. We've had relationship coach. We've honestly, what a chaotic energy is the best way to describe this podcast. And I have had so much fun. Thank you guys for giving me a safe space to talk about my feelings on the internet and support me through it all. And I cannot freaking wait to come back for season 2. Please, 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 if you were listening to this, it would mean the world to me because, we're trying to get those downloads because we didn't do any ads on this one, but I'm not going to lie. I would love to do some ads in the future so I can pay my rent. I mean, I am paying my rent, but I would love to, add to my rent money. So if you want to send this to a friend, share it to your story, tag me, follow your internet best friend pod on Instagram. And then, I don't know, maybe share your favorite moment from this season. I cannot freaking believe we've had 14 episodes. Time flies. It really, really does. And I cannot wait to see what is next in my crazy little life. What is next for 29-year-old Morgan? It seems like it changes every single week, every single month, but I'm excited. I'm ready to take what life has to throw at me. And y'all, for the last time, I'm so excited. I will be back October 9th. So mark your calendar for season 2. I cannot wait to fill you in on all the new updates in my life that I'm going to have for you. And, for the last time in a hot sec, bye besties. Thanks so much for listening to the Your Internet Best Friend podcast. It's been real. It's been fun. And I will see everyone here next week. In the meantime, do all the podcast things. Like, subscribe, give me a 5-star review if you please. And catch up with me on social media at Morgan Lee Willette. Bye, besties.